Hey guys, so this is one of my first what ifs I'm uploading this week. Now I'm uploading this on Thursday. I did have time on Monday, but I didn't really have time because I stayed home and I had to do chores to make up for it. So I didn't really have enough time. So basically this Friday night and this Thursday night I'm gonna be uploading as much what ifs as I can. Now, this is what if Deku was Ghostface, or basically, yeah, was Ghostface, or had the powers of Ghostface. Now, Ghostface is running down as just a person, a human being. But let's be real. It's it's multiple horror movie theories, horror movie character, or horror movie villain theories. And my most popular theory is that Ghostface's suit or his mask is supernatural, or it basically gives the user some sort of horror movie enhancement. Now basically the theory is that Ghostface, this what if is heavily going to be based off that theory just a little bit, not heavily but most of it. Basically, this theory is basically just about how the suit or the mask gives the user, in the movies, Ghostface has been able to run like freakishly fast, not like flash fast, but faster than a normal human. Being able to jump out of buildings, get hit by cars, shot, stabbed, and still get back up. Basically, being able to pull off a bunch of stuff, and literally, if he was and the person that had Ghostface, suspicion on them would immediately get pushed off for a short amount of time or pretty long. So basically, what this is going to be doing, the suit or the mask in this what if is basically going to give Deku some sort of enhanced abilities, not superhuman, but faster or over human levels of strength, but not like Captain America or anything like that type of strength. Basically, just horror movie, basically kind of like Jason type strength, or mainly kind of like some sort of watered down version of Jason Voorhees or Jason type of strength, and also it basically give him most or mainly most of the generic powers of a horror movie villain. Like, I don't know, being able to appear out of nowhere, being able to just, come out of the shadows, or being able just to straight up just see in the dark and sense where somebody's hiding. Kind of like how most horror movie characters can literally just find you under a bed or find you in a closet. Like, if you're not even making noise or anything, they can just find you in a closet. That's it. But basically, let's start our story off with, well, let's start our story off with Zuko Midoriya and his family life and how he would come to be Scream. We start our story off with Zuko Midoriya in his house, basically just, getting raised. All up until Deku was about, let's say, 9. Basically, when his mother dies, his father is, distraught. He goes to alcohol, just it pretty much floods his life with so much detour, so much other things like gambling. Now, since his father had a pretty good job, most of his gambling stuff, mainly most of his gambling, or most of the money he lost by gambling, cleared up in about 3 to 4 months. But basically, over time, his father started to lose hours at work, but still had his job. But over time, his father got off of, all that other stuff, but just, pretty much evolved himself completely, submerged himself into his work, and barely saw Deku. Basically, what this would do, Deku's father would only come home to eat if he couldn't eat out, or just to go to sleep at about like 6 or 7, maybe even 9 sometimes. Basically, his father mainly not even caring about Deku, just making sure Deku had food and water, and not even speaking to Deku sometimes. Only time Deku's father would ever speak to him is Christmas, and sometimes on Halloween, when his job had a party and he was coming home to get some stuff. Now, basically, Deku's father mainly didn't really care about Deku. He wasn't abusive, he just neglected Deku. Over time, Deku started getting angrier, and one time confronted his father. His father said some out of the meal, just stupid stuff, saying that he needs to support the family. And basically, Deku knowing that Deku's father just took extra shifts so he didn't have to come home. because his mother died of, well, just some sort of, I guess, heart attack, well, in the house. Basically, his father not really loving the house. His father thinking about just moving, and maybe that would help him get over Inko's death just a little bit. But Deku's father was way too, well, busy because he had too much work on his hands. So Deku was left home, neglected, and just given food and supplies to just live on his own. Now Deku was good in school, and Deku tried, or not really tried, he just made sure that he got all his grades done, that he was a A student, and he always will. He always was. Every time he showed his father his grades, his father would reply with, "That's great." Not even saying Deku's name, just saying that's great. And just walking away minutes later to go to work or to go to sleep. Basically, Deku not never really seen his father at all. After a time, when Deku was about 13, he, well, semi forgot how his father even looked like. Or me, and when he was about 14, he forgot what his father sounded like. Now, basically Deku's father would neglect Deku since he didn't neglect Deku, just neglected Deku because he just was too messed up in his work, and also part of that was because Deku was quirkless. Deku was to be quirkless in this canon, but he would have some sort of, well, edge over quirk people later on in life. Now, Deku would have basically not a quirk per se, but more of a curse. Now, basically, when Deku was about, let's say, 9 months in his mother's womb, pretty much his mother, well, let's say about 3 months in his mother's womb, Deku's mother was basically having a date night with his father. And basically what would happen is Deku's mother would bump into a, kind of a actual real voodoo witch. Now the voodoo witch would have said that's fine, and this voodoo witch looks semi like just a older, more kind of like Cruella de Vil version of pretty much, it was, I think, midnight. And basically, pretty much Deku's mother would apologize, but the voodoo witch was incredibly angry that night. And basically, at that point, subconsciously, she didn't know what she placed on Deku's mother, but she didn't know that Deku's mother was pregnant. The curse flowed to Deku, and Deku was cursed with a kind of a devilish type of indeed. Now, Deku was always a good child until on his 16th birthday. His father was able to spend, only 1 hour with him, and that wasn't much time Deku spent with his father. But his father had to leave right before his actual birthday party. That 1 hour in the beginning of the day, he just went around with his father to get some food and dinner, get some food for breakfast. And 1 hour later, his father had to go to work. His father was not even there for his birthday. Only 2 people showed up. Some of his friends from school. But they weren't really friends. They were just there for food, and they didn't really even talk to Deku. Deku was left there with just a birthday cake, just, messed up since he didn't even blow his candles out. But right when the last candle was about to go out or melt into the cake, Deku blew it out, wishing that he had a better life, that he was more powerful, that he could do something about this, that he had more, that he, had more power. Basically, that would happen in a form of the curse activating. Now, over time, the curse would mainly be a part of Deku, having misfortune in his life, how his mother died, and how his father neglected him, and how he's quirkless. All that misfortune leading up to a bigger turning point of misfortune, but in sometimes maybe a second chance or more power in life. Basically, Deku waking up the next morning and being surprised at, basically, and how he felt a little bit better. Now, this curse would make Deku come across another item that would be a part of the curse. This curse being called the death row. Now, the death row curse, or my made up curse I wrote down. Basically, death row curse, when it's placed on you as you're a child, right up when you're 16, the curse activates, and it gives you pretty much subconscious thoughts to walk to a certain area where you would find an ancient, where you find, well, an ancient suit that would constantly morph to, well, current times, or more accurate times. Basically, it being morphed into different suits from the Egyptian times all the way to the 21st century. Basically, Deku opening it and finding something. Now, at that point, Deku wouldn't find this Ghostface suit yet, but you would have, well, seen some different changes in his body. Deku would be a little bit taller, about the same height, as Bakugo, and Deku would also basically, well, Deku would also have something different as well. Deku would have, would be the same height as Bakugo, growing a few inches, at all places, of all places. Basically, Deku also becoming stronger, but not like superhuman, but just becoming a little bit more actually ripped. His body becoming the same build as it was after the 10-month arc training with All Might. Basically, his body being a little bit more perfected just because of the curse. Basically, the curse trying to give Deku edge even without the magical or the supernatural suit. Deku would be about, well, pretty much bodybuilder type of strength. Pretty much near Dwayne Johnson or Mike Tyson type strength. Now, Deku would have walked off, and basically, he would have, well, immediately as he was going to get dinner, when his father left for work, before he even came out of his room, he saw the door shut and his father was gone. Now, Deku went to make himself dinner, and he was about to, well, pretty much make some more dinner and cut up some fruit for his dinner. Basically, when Deku grabbed the knife, pretty much when he grabbed the knife, it was originally a butter knife, but Deku didn't see it first, and it, for some reason, became sharper for some reason. Now, this would be part of a curse, some sort of supernatural enhancement. Any blade Deku would touch, or any type of sharp object, or even like a shard of metal, would become immediately sharp, kind of like a butcher knife or well, an axe. Basically, it just becoming sharp, kind of like a dagger. When you cut into the fruit, basically it immediately sliced, like it was, well, just butter or jello, not even having a single edge, not having a single, like, anything of, well, pushback. Pretty much the fruit just cutting into, like it wasn't even a fruit, like it was jello or something. Now, Deku would see the knife and be confused on why the butter knife was so sharp. When he dropped it, he saw that it became a butter knife again. He grabbed it and put it back in the drawer, but just going on to eat his dinner. His breakfast. Deku would go to school, and basically, he would get bullied, but Deku wouldn't really care. And Deku, after school, this would be the last day of school. After school, Deku, well, still got, actually in this canon, Bakugo was still messed up Deku's notebook. Deku's notebook still being filled up with, writings of heroes and all sorts of other stuff. But Deku also having, in this version, actually having a recopy, basically, him basically, well, writing, like, when he didn't have a journal on him, he wrote it on blank pieces of paper, then recopied it on his actual journal. But most of the paper still being in his house, Deku still having, most of all the heroes, his weakness, powers, and their abilities, and all the other stuff. Now, Deku would basically see and look around, basically seeing that, well, his notebook was completely torched. Now, Deku would smirk at this, basically him taking out his copy, basically just putting back in his backpack, and him having a little bit more confidence, him still going down the sludge villain tunnel. Now, he would go down the sludge villain tunnel, and he would be, well, actually, the sludge villain wouldn't be there, because that point would change, because Deku would have a turning point in that day that would be a part of the curse. Basically, the sludge villain going down a different tunnel, or a different sewage line, not leading up to that pretty much tunnel where Deku went through. Deku would go through, and basically the sludge villain would have gotten away, but Deku would have walked off, basically him self-consciously taking wrong turns, not to his house, but to some sort of abandoned, well, some sort of abandoned, well, was some sort of abandoned warehouse near Dago Beach. Basically, it being really big and it basically having the door to it wide open. Deku would walk into it, not really knowing why he was here. Him looking around and seeing some sort of chest. Basically, Deku would never see this warehouse because half the time Deku did take little light walks near Deku Beach and never saw any type of warehouse like this ever before. And this warehouse would mainly be, well, would be changing same as the suit. Basically, it changing to amount of times over and over. Different times it being pretty much a mountain of sand, and other times it being just a cabin, kind of like in the olden days, and other times just being a old ran down, well, a old ran down warehouse. Now Deku would walk in there, basically looking at the chest, seeing that the chest was really beat up and looked really old, like really antique-like, but it was very durable. Deku saw the chest was really loose and basically opened it up. Him seeing that the lock didn't really work, but basically him just opening it up and seeing some sort of, well, suit, some sort of black coat and pants and black um So basically, Deku's suit would be, well, mainly, or the Ghostface suit would be mainly actually supernatural. It being, based mainly on supernatural parts. Basically, it being made to fit personal preference of the killer or pretty much of the unaliver. Okay, unaliver. And basically, it being pretty much, basically morphed as such as pretty much to the person's preference or what their suit would look like. Still, it taking the pretty much inspiration of it still having the same, no matter what, the same type of base of the ghost face mask, and half of the time it being morphed, or pretty much the knife being morphed into different type of weapons. Now, basically, Deku's suit would be similar to this this pretty much build, but this build basically it being built kind of like, just similar to this. Basically, Deku's suit having pretty much boots, it having black boots, having a coat type thing like this, and the band, I think the leather laps or straps over here that is around the suit. It mainly actually just looking like this. Basically, it having multiple different forms as well. Now, basically, the suit would be able to morph and change with Deku's thoughts. Basically, it being modified over the years, over and over. And plus, in this point, this was the first time a teenager was given the curse. Or the first time, somebody was given the curse before they actually were 16. Most people were given the killer curse. Pretty much the killer curse began way in the centuries before, but half of the time, most of the original Ghostface had the curse, but wasn't given the curse when he was about 16. Maybe when he was like over age of 16 or later on. Now it would be multiple different Ghostfaces throughout the centuries, but that could be the only one that would actually get his Ghostface curse when he was before he was even born. But basically, the Ghostface curse being modified over time and becoming stronger within Deku's body, since it was gaining up and growing as well as Deku over the years. And the hate Deku got from his father neglecting him and him being bullied because he didn't have a quirk got to Deku extremely more. Basically making Deku's mental state okay, but his determination, his pretty much his meaning for life, or his pretty much compassion towards human life was changed, completely and utterly changed to a different perspective. Now I would see that Deku would basically train himself over and over, basically after he got the suit, him going back home, him being confused with what the suit was about. He appeared on his bed and he went to get something to eat. He went back on his bed and he saw the suit was morphed. Now, originally when he got the suit, it just looked like a dirty, a dirty, beat up, muddy type of a beat up, muddy version of the first ever, the first, model of the Ghostface suit. Basically, him looking at it now, seeing that it was a little bit more built up and looked a lot more practical and really more durable and fresh. It pretty much contrasting to Deku's preference or soul. Now, basically, Deku would look at it and see that's pretty cool, and basically would have put on one of the gloves, seeing that it fit him perfectly, and Deku would have been interested. He would have put it on subconsciously, and basically would have, try it out. He would have started doing kicks and flips in it, him acting like a hero, until he grabbed the mask and he put it on. Now, Deku put the mask on, and he felt different, like he could do anything, like he could be anything, and like he could see everything. He felt completely and utterly in charge, powerful. Now, Deku would see himself over time and basically looked at himself in the mirror, and Deku would have walked to the kitchen and grabbed, a knife. He would have seen that it's not sharp enough. Basically, him throwing it, and basically the Ghostface mask makes the suit whole, but the suit without the mask gives Deku an edge, kind of like, pretty much gives him like an edge, kind of like, similar to kind of like Shang-Chi, or kind of like Iron Fist type strength. Basically, Deku being able to pull out things like kicking down a metal door, or punching through a wooden door, or also giving him extra durability. But basically, the mask, with him on the mask and the suit and all, together, gives him an array of different abilities. Let me listen real quick. Being able to, later on I said he can, even without the suit, he can sharpen any piece of metal or knife to perfection just by touching it. Also, Deku, with the suit, with the mask on, basically it gives him a array of more durability. Him being able to pull off, not really, like super difficult stuff, like him being like decapitated or anything like that, but him being able to get shot, stabbed, hit by a car, or even ran over. Him being thrown out of a 2-story building or a 3-story building. Him being burned alive, or either being, just straight up kicked off a mountain. Deku would still be able to get back up, but just with a few bruises and only two or three broken bones. Okay, so basically Deku would have pretty good durability with the suit fully on, and Deku would also be able to take blows and punches with little effort. Basically, him, pretty much the only real thing that can really like injure Deku is like, guarantee kill shots, like going for the head. But for this matter, the hood and the upper area, all the way to the hood, is all invulnerable. Straight up, meaning that you can't hit Deku with any type of head areas, and also Deku's suit does have a certain type of, I don't know, it's basically some sort of a magical or supernatural type of air filter. Basically, gases or anything like that, or hormones can't get through Deku's mask. And also, Deku could see surprisingly perfectly with the mask on, even though the mask eyes look really weird though, and don't really look like you can really see good out of them. But yeah, so basically, yeah, you also see that Deku has an array of different abilities alongside his near what superhuman durability, and also his pretty much invulnerability towards the head area of his mask or his suit. Now, basically, we switch to the rest of the suit, and basically, the suit's magical abilities would be able to basically appear about like a yard away. The farthest Deku can appear, or just teleport, straight up just blankly just saying that he can just teleport. Like, that's mainly what most horror villains just do. Like, they be showing up out of nowhere, out of closets, out of pantries, just straight up just appearing out of nowhere. Because we know for a fact, Jason Voorhees, he can teleport. We've seen that in the game. He can straight up teleport. Now, basically, I'm gonna give that power to Deku with the Ghost Face, because it's mainly just supernatural and I can do whatever I want, because supernatural suits in horror movies, they just be doing crazy stuff because you can just go all out. And basically, the Ghostface suit basically gives Deku a array of multiple other abilities added on top of basically being able to teleport about a football field's length, but any farther than that Deku cannot do. So only the max is just as long or as far as a football field. So yeah, Deku can't teleport on the other side of the other side of the world or anything, but he can teleport as far as a football field goes. Now basically, Deku also has an array of other abilities like enhanced senses like perfect eyesight, also having the ability to see in the dark, and also having the ability to sense other human life or beings for about 3 seconds. And with enough, what was it, training, you can, pretty much Deku can only sense people in an 8 feet radius of him for about 3 seconds. And what he senses is basically just their heartbeat or their thoughts, but mainly their heartbeat, and he can't really exactly find where they are, but he can log on to a person's heartbeat if he knows what they look like or knows what they sound like. And also, Deku can, pretty much, also on the other part, Deku can pretty much subconsciously kind of control people's minds. Basically, what he can do, a cliche if I say, Deku can basically just make people, well, just take suspicion off of him just altogether. If Deku is like suspected of, killing somebody or unaliving somebody or suspected of being the unaliver in the horror movie, basically Deku could just use his powers with the suit on or the mask on to basically, because the mask on, it gives him mainly, you know, some of the abilities, but with the whole suit gives him most of the abilities. But we're just talking about the whole all of the suit's abilities, like with all on. Now, with that ability to take suspicion off of himself, he also has a different ability, pretty much increased strength. Now, Deku can pull off pretty amazing feats of strength, but not too strong. Now, Deku can basically do mainly both of the things Jason and Voorhees can do. Jason and Michael can do. Basically, Deku can pull off an insane amount of pretty much strength. I said it before, him being able to pull off, crazy stuff like kick down metal doors, and punch through wooden doors. Also, him being able to throw a whole grown human male, like a whole full grown man, about 10 feet away, about 10 feet, just with his bare hands, and basically can pin him up in the sky, like if they throw him straight up into the sky, about 12 feet. But him just throwing him across a room or something about like 10 feet, or maybe at his top physical strength, about 11 feet. And basically for speed, Deku can run as fast as a average car at full speed. Pretty much him being able to run pretty fast. Now it is top, like when he's like actually just pushing it, like when it's actually like really like straight up hurting, or his legs are pulsating and his legs feel like they're gonna shut down. He can run as fast as pretty much near the same speed as basically the other ability is that Deku, oh no, the other speed, when he's actually pushing, like I mean like just straight up going god mode on speed. Basically, Deku can run as fast as a motorcycle, and motorcycles on average are way faster than cars because of the weight ratio and all that other stuff. But since Deku is a human, he's way lighter than a motorcycle, so he can run faster than a motorcycle. Now, basically, Deku also has the, pretty much build up speed as a motorcycle slash mix with the car. So Deku just ran up like at full speed with his legs pulsating, like ran into somebody. It's pretty much the same, result as A Train running into that girl at the beginning of episode 1, season 1 of The Boys. If you don't know what it is, look up A Train running into somebody or The Boys A Train. You'll probably see some of the pictures. Just look up A Train running or all the running scenes of A Train. You'll see it. Now basically, we see that basically, well, Ghostface or Deku has most of all those abilities, plus pretty much kind of like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees levels of strength. Basically, him not being as strong as as both of them, but him being nearly the same strength as them, being able to pull off stuff like throw grown men across rooms, punch people, and also pretty much not punch through people, but being able to punch people pretty far, and him also being able to, crack nicks, kind of like Loki did in that one scene, or I guess Loki did crack somebody's neck at one point in the comics, but also Deku being able to pull off lots of other things, and Deku would also have the ability to basically Deku would have a multiple, pretty much that would be all Deku's abilities, with the full suit on, plus the ability to pretty much have a certain ace in the card for weapons. Basically, he can summon pretty much five, pretty much 5 to 6 different weapons in his hands, but they all just blade related, like shurikens or knives or swords or katanas. Anything blade related or counted as a blade can be summoned in Deku's hands or just made out of a different piece of metal. Like if Deku picked up a fork, it can transform into a butcher knife if you wanted it to. Basically, him being able to transform any weapon or any like metal object into a knife or a katana or something, as long as it has the same weight, as long as it has the same, what was it? As long as it has the same width or length as the object, or is taller than the object, and as long as it's made out of metal. Now basically we see that Deku pretty much starts to experiment. Now when he goes out on the night on the town, he sees that the pretty much knife he took just straight up transforms into a whole entire like axe type, like a whole like red axe. Basically having a black, handle. Now he would have put it in his was in the back of his suit. Basically, his suit being able to store a multiple stuff, kind of like video game storage. Pretty much him being able to store weapons like axes or knives or anything into like a seemingly like slit in the back of his suit that is basically leading up to pretty much a room, like a pocket. Inside the pocket it's like a whole room, or like a whole dark pocket dimension that's the size of a room. Basically, him being able to fit multiple stuff in there, and his suit being able to read, his thoughts or what item or what weapon he's reaching for, and pretty much he can just grab the weapon back out of the room or the pocket dimension or whatever. Now, basically, the pocket dimension is mainly just a latch on to the supernatural world, or basically just a pocket dimension that's linked to multiple others. Basically, Deku would also have. I think I list. Let me look at my paper. Yeah, that's all the powers I gave Deku. All the powers I gave the Ghostface mask. Now the Ghostface suit, like fully. Now with the mask on, Deku has all the invulnerability on the mask, and also Deku has the ability of the speed. No, the speed. With the mask on, he just has the invulnerability in the mask and the whole entire suspicion thing off of him, and the what was it? The extra senses like increased sight, and also I didn't mention this before, increased hearing, kind of like bat hearing, kind of like that. So basically, Deku has increased hearing and kind of like a echolocation, but like not like echolocation, but similar to echolocation type of power with the mask just on, with just the mask. Now with the gloves on, nothing much. Just like the strength in his hands, but not as his actual arms. So he can't lift anything, but he can't crush stuff. Now for he can't lift anything as strong as the suit is, as strong as the suit can. But the gloves itself, if he just puts the gloves on, it can give him like super grip, kind of being able to crush a tree or crush him by his arm. Now, basically, Deku would also be able to pretty much use his durability in his gloves. So, if somebody tried to stab him in the hand, he put his glove on, and the knife would either just go through and his body, or the glove will slowly start to heal his body, or the knife might just slip or like slide off of the pretty much glove. And also, for some reason, the suit sometimes it would change over and over. Basically, it having either a red tint on it out of nowhere, even though it's not tinted, or it having kind of like green light shining off of it in the daytime, or when like nighttime lights or street lights come on it. Now, yeah. Now for the boots, it would just give Deku the speed of the suit, and yeah. So that's basically it for the whole entire different parts of the suits and the suit combined. Yeah, and also Deku can. There's one power Deku can just use without having the suit on. Is the whole entire sharpening objects thing. He can't summon objects or anything, but he can sharpen them if he gets a piece of metal or like a fork or like a butter knife or something like that, or a pocket knife. Now, also, for that point on, Deku's physical body would change a little bit. Deku would still have green eyes. He would still be taller and all that other stuff, but Deku would also be a little bit more criminal mastermind type of thinking. Deku wouldn't really feel remorseful human life that much. Him just trying to, well, do what he wanted to do. Now, when Deku went on the night on the town, basically Deku with his first suit, he started to experiment. He went to Deku Beach and basically started to experiment. He saw that he was increasingly faster, stronger, and better and more durable than ever. Him seeing that he has the suit gave him some sort of edge and some sort of quirk. Now, basically, Deku would have, tried out his multitude of all of his abilities and also other stuff. Basically, him having lots and lots of pretty much, powers over time. And not having more powers, but, oh man, I forgot one more power. I'm sorry, but I'm not making Deku too overbeat. I'm not making him as strong as, Michael or Jason. That would be pretty OP. And I'm not making him, I'm not making him, straight out, completely invulnerable or anything like that. But basically, for the whole entire, when I said, suit will change over time, the suit will change depending on Deku's mental state. If Deku's mental state was okay, or, just normal, like a normal type of rage, but if Deku went straight up, Black Air Force One's activity rage, his suit would change into more of a demon type. It being similar to this. Now, his knife or any type of blade he would automatically default to this blade, a red blade with basically red smoke coming off of it and it being curved like this, and his suit being pretty much merged into this, and his ghost face mask pretty much growing horns, and his pretty much suit just changing into this with a red lining down his coat or his suits with his chest area of the suit. Basically, him getting all the abilities of his suit plus pretty much just the abilities of a demon. Now, we don't know, basically, possessing people, placing curses on people, being virtually just invulnerable, but also being really exposed, or really, vulnerable to holy items like holy water or a cross or anything like that. And also him being ridiculously strong, being stronger than Jason and Michael combined. Basically, him being able to rip people apart like the Incredible Hulk or something. Him being able to also control his knives or his weapons, or control this knife. This knife would be able to basically, disintegrate somebody just by it going in somebody's body. Basically, it just disintegrating the person again, literally disintegrating all of it. Like the last breath they took, that piece of oxygen, or the last breath they took, that oxygen, whatever, would just evaporate, making more or less a red smoke explosion where their body used to be, and it being red ashes left. Now, basically, his suit would also change his mental state. Basically, it going demon mode, or Black Air Force Ones. Him basically just going on a killing spree or an unaliving spree. Basically, him straight up just being a menace to society. when this form is unlocked, or pretty much, well, yeah, unlocked. Now basically, Deku wouldn't have control of this form yet by the time of part 2 or part 3. Now we switch to Deku that night. Basically, him going training over time. He hears commotion, and basically he starts looking around. Basically, he sees that it's a bunch of guys, you know, pretty much robbing a place, and Deku tries to stop him. Now he stops him, but at this point he doesn't know that he's hitting him. He's hitting them too hard, throwing them against walls and punching them upside the head and the neck, cracking their bones and straight up just incapacitating them forever. Hitting them too hard, him incapacitating them forever. Basically, him looking around and being confused. Now, over time, he saw that they were dead, but for some reason, Deku didn't feel any, well, guilt, any remorse, any fear, nothing. He just felt kind of relieved. And at that point, over the 10 months, Deku become more or less a vigilante type anti-hero slash, well, vigilante anti-hero. Basically, Deku would, go Batman sometimes or Red Hood. Basically, him mainly just, marking villains, or just pretty much cutting off their hands, or just punishing them like olden days, like scolding, like hitting them with rocks, or just cutting off their hands or their feet. Basically, pretty much in this version, basically just, well, Deku going all execution on people that committed crimes. Basically, Deku making kind of an impact, like, over 10 months. Basically, Deku being able to take down multiple villains and organizations in months. Now, I'm going to go over 2 pretty much things that Deku went over during these 10 months. Now, Deku, on his first month, Deku's month was pretty quickly. Moved pretty quickly. Deku got a lot done, and Deku just became more, got more experience with him missing blows, but him still gaining experience over time, him enhancing his fighting style, and him getting better and better. And over time, Deku will be able to get his getaway plans, like jumping off roofs or anything like that. Basically, him being able to pull off insane getaway plans, stuff like that. And basically, Deku being able to do, crazy stuff. And him being pretty much a kind of like a super scary Batman to villains. Basically, villains being legitimately more terrified of Deku than All Might, Aizawa, or any type of anti-hero ever, or any type of pro-hero ever. Pretty much villains being scared AF. I mean, like, they literally doodle their pants when they see Deku. Like, they honestly get down on their knees and start praying to him. And that happens about 2 weeks straight throughout these 10 months of Deku doing his, his crime fighting, or his crime straight up just stopping, Pretty much, Deku makes a pretty good, not big, but a good dent on crime. Pretty much taking down, three of pretty much one of the biggest villain organizations, but him not taking out any of the really big criminal organizations like, Overhaul or One for All or anything like that. Just small places that aren't really big to the plot of the story. But him taking out multiple of them, and him basically taking out more villains. Now, over time, he would, be at one type of, robbery, taking down more villains, throwing them across walls, pretty much taking them out. And right when he was about to finish the job, taking out the head leader of this robbery, basically, well, Midnight and Aizawa would have stepped in, and a lot of, well, pretty much ops would have stopped in as well. Basically, them, letting the robbers get there, and then recording everything and getting a whole squad car and everything. And two of the best night pro heroes out there that's trying to, arrest Ghostface. And that's what Deku named himself. Now, that he would be in like a month into all of this, stopping crime. And most people would actually like Deku, and most people would actually start making merch of Deku. But most heroes and the hero organization wanted Deku gone, because he was a vigilante, and also he was a killing vigilante, an anti-hero. Basically, most people liking him, but other people not liking him since he, unalived a lot of people. but mainly people say he only allowed bad people or people that were doing crimes. Basically, Deku looks around at them smirking under the mask, and him looking at them, making this kind of camera face, but him standing up, not really doing that whole entire, I guess, arc. It was, I guess, waste thing. Basically, him saying, "This is gonna be fun." Never thought I would meet a Zawa and midnight. I hope you guys are in for a shock because you're not catching me ever or now. Basically, Deku pretty much just throws a dagger right towards Midnight. Midnight dodges it, and Azawa throws pretty much his scarf at Deku, trying to wrap him up. But Deku cuts through it because Deku's knives, they're sharpened to perfection, meaning that they can literally cut through anything, even if it's knife proof. Deku pretty much looks at Azawa's shocked face, and Deku was Azawa. You can't cut it off, but pretty much Azawa was pretty shocked because it didn't. It felt like the knife literally just cut through his rope. Like he had no fighting back. Like his rope was just paper to the knife. Now Deku looked at Azawa, taking out his knife, pinning it other side down in his hand, saying, "I should stop. I should stay and fight you guys, but I don't kill heroes. I only kill bad guys." Azawa saying, "Bad guys, they're robbers. You could have done this easily. You could have just went to the Hero Academy and did what you want, kid. By your height and your talking, I know that you're not even an adult." Deku saying, "Why not? I sound like this." Basically, what Deku sounds like, he sounds like Ghostface under the mask. Or like, well, he sounds like Ghostface, but under the mask, he still sounds like, Izuku Midoriya. Which is a little bit more of a toned down voice. And basically, Deku looks at them saying, well, maybe. Basically, Izawa is kind of just making this up because he knows that Deku's a teenager, since, well, Deku isn't as tall as a full grown man. But basically, Deku looks at them saying, "It's not about my voice. It's just about how I talk. It's not about my voice. It's just how tall I am." Zuko starts going on about how Hero Society is flawed in type of ways. It's good, but it's flawed because heroes just pit villains in jail over and over time. Heroes still kill villains then and there when there's a good reason for it, or there's no other reason, or there's no other way. But half of the time, when they do have to take down a villain, basically, when Deku goes on about how Hero Society is flawed and that villains, you just put them back in jail and they eventually get out and do the same thing that they did, or they just break out. It's a cycle of endless torture. If we get rid of crime altogether, it would be a paradise, but that's not going to be good for hero business, and also for the fact that without crime, it's no real society. Crime is what all people do. It's endless. It's unescapable. Basically, Deku says, so that's why I'm using pure fear to stop villains in their tracks. Sometimes I just show up and they just stop what they're doing and they turn themselves in. But I guess you guys have to catch me first to know what my rest of my plan is. Now, Deku has a big plan. I'm not gonna say it right now. Or maybe I might introduce it or say it by part 10 or part 6. Now we see that Deku sprints off in the back of the bank, basically them following Deku. At midnight, doing her whole entire sleeping thing, pretty much as Al putting on a gas mask because she was prepared for this. Pretty much them looking around, trying to see where Deku fell asleep at. Them expecting Deku falling asleep. But Deku comes up behind them saying, wow, this is just... Pretty much he makes a huge gash in the back of Midnight's back. Him kicking her down to the ground. And him straight up somersaulting like karate. Him somersaulting like Karate Kid, like straight up Dukes Azawa upside the head with a karate kick right upside the head. Him getting knocked into a bag or pretty much a crate of money in the bank vault because Deku rewarded them in the bank vault. Deku runs out of the bank vault, closes it, and gets out there quick. Basically, him teleporting to a nearby building using his, football field teleportation. Basically, him getting on top of a building and him jumping to building with his teleportation. Now he gets back to his house and gets back in there. At this point, his dad was still at work, so they could kick his suit off. And surprisingly, the most handy thing about his suit is extremely easy to clean. Pretty much any marks on it, or I mean any type of scrubs on it, can just be wiped away by just a rag or something, because it doesn't seep into the fabric of the suit. It's kind of like just well, it's semi like just what was it? Shiny football gloves. It's basically kind of like that. You just wipe them off, and the stains is off. So his suit never really gets dirty, and also his suit's super easy to dry clean, because he can always when he takes it off, it just transforms into pretty much the original the original kind of cheap looking Ghostface suit, like in the first Ghostface movie. So basically, he cleans it, since he got a little bit of Midnight's blood on his suit, and he also got a little bit of blood on his boots when he straight up murked, but he should have bopped Azala upside the head like a rag doll. Basically, Deku cleans up and says, "Wow, that was the first time I actually went up against a pro hero that tried to stop me." Well, it was that one time with that wood hero. Now with the wood hero, or I do not know his name. The guy that's mainly shipped with what was it? That giant pro hero. I don't remember her name. Pretty much that guy, Carmel Woods. Yeah, Carmel Woods. I think his name was. Basically, he did go up against Deku, trying to stop him, but Deku mainly just knocked him out with one kick upside the one kick, like one uppercut kick upside the chin, making him fall down an alleyway and fall into a trash can, making Deku take him out pretty quickly in about 10 minutes. Pretty much Deku meaning most of those 10 minutes, the first 9 minutes, basically just being Deku dodging multiple wood attacks, and him in the last minute just him running up to Karma Woods, getting closer and doing the finishing blow, ending the fight. Now Deku pretty much only goes out like right at exactly right after the sun is set. Basically him going out the whole night. And with the suit, basically the suit keeps up Deku's metabolism, and pretty much for a short amount of time can self-sustain Deku for a short amount of time, basically giving Deku pretty much actually a lot of energy for the night, and him being able for the last hour of the night, him going back home and sleeping. And pretty much with his curse, since killers mainly go out at night, with unalivers go out at night. Basically, the curse is morphed to basically give Deku more energy during the daytime, but also during the nighttime, making Deku being able to go days or even months on end without sleeping, and still being able to function pretty well during the night and day. Now, basically, Deku goes out multiple months, and all the way up till the 10th arc training, or the last month, Deku sees about the hero at the Hero Academy, or the Hero Course. Now basically, he sees it and he signs up. Now basically, Deku's only been seen by Aizawa and Midnight, because mainly his suit is always pitch black in the cameras, and the suit's supernatural, or the pretty much the energy that's coming off of it. Mainly, the only thing they get off Deku's suit is just the white facial. Basically, most of all the villains that Deku went up against, they barely even see him. They just see the they just see the dark black outline of a person with a knife in their hand, and they automatically know it's Ghostface, because no one's really seen Deku full on just took a really good picture, because you can't take a good picture with Deku's suit on, because Deku's suit is supernatural, and it has properties that make his identity under wraps. But basically, that's a part of one of the suit's abilities, but not really abilities. Basically, the suit, it pretty much, you need a clear really a good light of shot to get Deku's suit even goodly outlined. Basically, Deku's suit has never really been seen, and plus Aizawa was hit upside the head pretty hard by Deku, so Aizawa barely remembered what Deku looked like. He remembered what he sounded like, but he barely remembered what he looked like. And for the whole entire, for Midnight, she didn't even see Deku. Because she walked in, they talked to him, and because the lights were like dark, like the lights were just completely off, and the squad cars didn't want to give away their position. So basically, pretty much she just saw Deku's ghost face mask, but basically she was more blocked off since she didn't really see the rest of Deku since she had to dodge a straight up dagger out of nowhere, and Deku straight up started to make them go on a goose chase or chase him through the bank. So yeah, but from that point, basically it gets kind of blurry because no one's really seen Deku face to face except for a couple robbers, but they're so traumatized they can't even say what he looks like. And yeah, and most sidekicks or like people that can read minds with quirks, they're mainly on the police force or they just don't want to use their quirks. So basically, no one can really find out what Deku in the Ghostface suit looks like. So Deku takes this opportunity because no one's really seen him in a Ghostface mask or a suit, and he signs up for UA. He goes to UA, and basically he goes into class one night. And he goes into UA. He gets to the front gate, but he thinks to himself, why? Now Deku knows that he doesn't have that many abilities or powers or upgrades in the suit. He's about to walk away when he bumps into a Chaku. He talks to a Chaku, and he sees her walk away, and Deku says, why not? So basically he goes there, does a written assignment, and he does the physical assignment, or pretty much the physical part of the test, or the entrance. Now basically he gets ready, and basically since Deku's suit can morph and change depending on what he wants it, he changes it into a black and white jumpsuit similar to his jumpsuit from the canon. It just being the green in it being replaced with a black and him wearing the ghost face gloves and basically him wearing the ghost face boots as well. Basically since the suit is morphed, he's technically wearing all the suit. Basically, the only thing that he doesn't have is the whole entire invulnerability and the, whole entire gas mask thing, because he doesn't have the mask on or the hood. So basically, Deku goes out there and pretty much they do pretty good at the first part. Because Deku starts dodging attacks pretty well with his increased strength and speed, and Deku's pretty athletic as it is since the curse made him a pretty more taller and more athletic. Basically, Deku started, dodging more attacks and started to run at an average speed of a car. Him running pretty fast, passing a lot of people. Him running and catching up with Ida. He passes Ida when he starts, pushing himself, and he runs into a couple of robots. Now, he runs into a couple of robots. Over time, he starts losing, momentum, and Deku trips and falls right near Chaku, where the Zero Pointer is about to, push over some rubble. A 0 Point is about to push over some rubble towards Deku and Ochaku. Now Deku pretty much gets up pretty quickly, grabs Ochaku by the waist, and pretty much carries her out of the way, bottle style, running her out of the way. Him using his feet even more. Him building up more speed over a motorcycle, running faster and faster. And pretty much at this point, most of the cameras see Deku as a blur. Not super fast, but kind of like a vampire type speed. But not, being able to. And pretty much Deku runs as fast as a motorcycle, 2 times faster. Now basically Deku starts running off, becoming more of a blackish blur, but you can still see the outline of a human in the blur. But basically Deku starts running around, and pretty much he runs and kicks some reserve player robots with Ochaku still in his hands. Pretty much him, landing, pretty much Spider-Man style. Not really Spider-Man style, but more or less he squats with Ochaku still in his arms and sits her down, saying that was pretty close. Pretty much he starts looking around, and right when he was about to run off to get more points, the bell goes off and they're all sent to go. And basically they all get in. Pretty much Deku goes back home and waits for the note. Then a couple days later he gets a note from UA and he informs his father. His father's confused because Deku doesn't have a quirk, but his father just congratulates Deku because he doesn't want to ask more questions. He just wants to get back to work. So Deku's father walks off, and Deku is left there. Now Deku does love his father, but he just doesn't care about his validation. He just doesn't want anything. He just doesn't want his father to die. That's it. He doesn't really care about his father. He just doesn't want him to die. Pretty much, Deku starts walking off to UA after he gets a note that he's been accepted into UA and he actually got one of the top scores. And Deku starts walking off, and pretty much most of the teachers, just most of the watchers, pretty much they just think Deku has a really good speed quirk, like Ida. But basically, Deku starts running off over and over, and basically he starts getting to UA, and basically right when he's about like a field away from UA, he just teleports into the school. Now when he teleports, it's basically like he just disappears. Like it's no black smoke, it's nothing. It's just like it's kind of like it's not like Nightcrawler's. It's not Nightcrawler type teleportation, or like teleport like as in like a portal or anything. It's kind of like just he shrinks down into like a wormhole. Like he just disappears. It's no smoke or anything. He just disappears. Like if you blink, you miss him. He's just gone. Basically, him being able to teleport into the school's hallway, out of the way of any of the cameras, and walks to his class. Deku gets to his class and leads everybody, seeing Bakugo there. Pretty much he smirks at Bakugo, saying that I never thought you actually get into school with your attitude. Basically, Bakugo gets up, says, I don't ever think you get into school since you're quirkless. Chaco sees and says, Deku, he's not quirkless. He has some sort of speed quirk, right? Now, pretty much Deku says, yeah, I do. Basically, Deku looks at Bakugo, telling him to back off. Now, what Deku would be doing is he would be able to morph his suit for a short amount of time into different, forms. Like what he did in the jumpsuit, Deku can morph it into any type of suit. It just has to be black or white, meaning that he can change his UA suit into, he can't change the suit into a UA suit, but the UA suit is going to be black, and the boots are going to be, or the shoes are just going to be black and white. So Deku just has his suit morphed into kind of like a morph suit type of, like a swimsuit, like type of black swimsuit underneath his clothes or his school clothes. So he still has a suit on. He just has his gloves in his backpack, and his mask and his hood in his backpack. So basically, Deku, and also the boots, they can morph as well. His boots being morphed into a black version of his red cannon boots. So basically, Deku walks in the class, sits down, and pretty much he just waits there. Pretty much Bakugo looking at him, giving him a death stare, and Deku not really caring. Now Deku looks off, and basically he gets approached by Chaku after the whole little argument or squabble he had with Bakugo. Now Deku starts talking to Ochaku, and Ochaku thanks Deku and says that you run really fast. Now when Deku was running, it felt like she said it felt like I was on a motorcycle or I was in a car or on top of a car. And basically Deku says, yeah, are you okay? Basically he starts making small talk with Ochaku, and actually starts straight up just flirt with her like bluntly, and she actually starts blushing by this because Deku doesn't really care. He's not really shy, and he has a little bit more confidence, and he's more of a he's kind of like the first Ghostface, the Scream movie. He's more or less just out and about. Like he has a cool, calm attitude. He just says what he wants to say. He doesn't really care what anybody thinks about it. So pretty much he starts flirting with Ochaku over and over, building up to a point where he might ask her number. But he gets stopped when Izawa walks into class and explains to the class that they're doing, well, pretty much what was it? That they were doing pretty much, well, Quicksilvers. Izawa would have a permanent type of, well, like a little bit of a scar on his left, like on his left cheek, because that would be from Deku's boots, or the grooves of his boots, like literally digging into his cheek when he gets like folded by Deku's foot in the robbery. I mean, like, when I tell you Deku folded Ozawa, I mean he literally knocked the boots out of this man. Like, it was kind of one of those JoJo scenes. Basically, he just murked him, bro. Bro, he like straight up went Goku slap Frieza with his shoe type thing, bro. Bro, he straight up, like, the kick was so, in anime style, the kick was so crisp that it literally made a whole indent in Ozawa's face and shooted Ozawa like a rocket in the vault, bro, across the vault, bro. I mean, like, when I tell you he folded this man's Ozawa, he folded the literal life out of this man's. But yeah, so basically, Ozawa has built up a big grudge from, Ghostface, since basically he just remembers a white mask, hitting a white mask, running into a bank vault, him following it, and the next thing he remembers, he gets knocked out. He gets turned off like a light, bro. Like, bro, he just gets knocked the freak out, bro. Basically, Zawa pretty much, tells everybody to go out. Pretty much he tells Deku to throw the ball first. Because he just wants to tell him to throw the ball first. Deku grabs the ball, and basically, when they got in their sports suits, Deku was able to pretty much, what was it? Deku pretty much morphed his, gym suit into pretty much a black and white version of his suit. With the red parts of his suit, basically, the red parts of his sports suit, basically, he just uses actual, like a, a red Sharpie. Pretty much him being able to just have a black version of his sports suit or his gym clothes. Now, Zawa would see this as weird, but he wouldn't really judge it because he was too tired to even see it. He was too tired and he didn't want to ask. And plus, it was a gym clothes, and this version, let's just say it was a version of black gym clothes, but Zawa didn't think this school had them anymore. But whatever, Zawa didn't really care because at this point, Zawa just wanted to go home. Now, Zawa told them all to get ready, and basically Deku threw the ball. Now, Deku wouldn't have his gloves on, but basically, since his suit was on, he pretty much, the shoulders of his suit were kind of extra long, so his biceps did have the Ghostface strength, so he threw a pretty good amount of strength, pretty good far, 22.83 meters, pretty far. And basically, Deku is a pretty good score. Now, for pretty much the long jump, Deku jumps over it pretty easily, since he does have a black version of his, pretty much jump. Pretty much of the, still, the black, disguised versions of his ghost face boots, and his ghost face, suit. So his gym clothes do go down to, his ankles. They're like pants. Basically, he jumps over them pretty easily. He jumps over the sandpit pretty easily, using his legs to use the speed in his legs to just use strength and jump over it pretty quickly and easily. Now, for the race, Deku gets first place since he is faster than Ida. Now, for the grip test strength, Deku gets about 4th place, and because he doesn't have his gloves on. So basically, after that, they get scored, and Deku gets about 2nd place. Now, pretty much the rest of the group, they get a pretty good score, and pretty much everybody is sent back home with their syllabus. Now, Deku goes back home, but he gets stopped by Bakugo. Bakugo not really wanting to act a fool in front of everybody, but him going up against Deku right when everybody was about to go in class and get their stuff, or go back in the gym clothes, go back in the lockers to get dressed up. Basically, they get told to get ready, and basically, pretty much Deku gets stopped by Bakugo. Bakugo turns him around and basically about to punch Deku, when Deku dodges and weaves, and basically punches Bakugo in the chest 2 times as hard as he can, pushing Bakugo a foot away. Pretty much Bakugo gets back up and saying that's all you got. Basically him throwing an explosion towards Deku. Deku dodges it, pretty much him taking gloves out of pretty much the slit or like the slit in the back of his suit, since every version of Deku's suit that he makes or every version his suit morphs into still has the dimension slit pocket. He pretty much pulls out the gloves because he did put his gloves back in there. Puts his gloves on, is a fist, and pretty much just punches the daylights out of Bakugo's face, bro. Like two teeth fall out of Bakugo's mouth, and pretty much Bakugo gets knocked out and folded. I mean, like laid down like a carpet, bro. I mean, he folded this man's Bakugo so hard, he couldn't even see it coming. Like honestly, Bakugo couldn't even see it coming. He was folded so hard. I'm surprised Bakugo didn't die from the pure shock of him just getting knocked out. Because Bakugo got back up, threw an explosion, and he blinked. And next thing he remembered, he was in a hospital bed. Because when he blinked through the smoke of the explosion, Deku threw a literal, I mean, like a JoJo, I mean a Baka, or what was it, a Beckett? I don't know what the boxer anime. He just threw a straight up Dragon Ball Z punch right into Bakugo's face, bro. Pretty much knocking the daylights out of Bakugo. Like, it literally, after the smokes cleared up out of the explosion, Bakugo blinked, and he was laid out like a carpet, bro. Laid out like a rug, bro. Just folded. Just, like, knocked out like a light, bro. It just folded. Basically, it literally just a punch upside Bakugo's head, and Bakugo just laid down on the ground. Just plop, just flat on the lid on the ground. He didn't bounce off. He just hit dead on the ground. Just dead on the ground. Didn't bounce up, no nothing. He just dead on the ground. Basically, Bakugo wakes up in a hospital bed. And basically, he does get helped a little bit. And basically, he wakes up in the nurse's room. Basically, he gets waked up a little bit, like about 3 minutes later. And basically, he gets, he gets picked up by his mom. And basically, his mom says, what happened? Now, Bakugo says that nothing happened, and saying that I'll handle it. I have to. Basically, Bakugo goes back home, and pretty much his dad's about to go to spend some time with his bros, as he did get off of work early, but he does spend about 10 minutes with Deku, pretty much talking to him, saying that I'm proud of you for getting into UA, son. Pretty much him, hugging Deku and walking out of the house. Deku would feel, really good, joy from his father for once. Because the last time he ever felt joy with his father, any type of love from his father, was last time on his 16th birthday, or the first hour of the day on his 16th birthday. No, and also, the days that his father was actually around before his mom died. Now, Deku pretty much sits down and thinks about today. Now, basically, Deku walked home with his UA suit, his UA uniform, packed up in his backpack, but him having pretty much the same type of black jumpsuit that he did during the entrance exams with his gloves on. He takes his gloves off, he takes his suit off, it defaulting into, the original Ghostface suit, basically him folding it up and putting it in, a suitcase that was in his room that he bought over the months, and pretty much puts it in the suitcase and locks it up and puts it in his room. And pretty much he lays down, and pretty much he goes to sleep that night. Now we wake up the next day, and I want to leave it off here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe, and as always, guys, have a blessed day. Before I go, guys, I will be uploading the next 3 waves this week, or this Friday, or this Thursday night. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe, guys, and I'll see you guys later. And have a blessed day. Bye.